Joining us now is Kachi with stories trending around the world. Hello, Kachi. Good morning, and over to you. Just catch it.
Good morning, Dr. Abati. I hope
Good
you had
morning.
a lovely
How was your weekend?
A very interesting one following our chat on Friday.
Yes.
Good morning, Kachi.
Good morning, Adesuwa. Good morning, Rufai, as well.
Morning, Kachi.
Viewers, you're welcome. I hope you had a lovely weekend as well. Let's begin with the fact that the demolitions happening in various parts of Nigeria is beginning to take a different turn for a negative aspect now. A native of Imo State, Nigeria, is lamenting over the demolition of his property worth hundreds of millions of naira, alleged to be legally carried out by the Imo State Government recently. Now, the owner of the structure, engineer Chidi Akpunku, said he acquired documents of the house legally and followed all due process with the Owerri Capital Development Agency, which had given them the go-ahead to complete the structure. But then he was completely shocked when the Imo State Government demolished the building that was near completion. Well, Akpunku, who is in diaspora, expressed worry that this could discourage other indigents in diaspora from investing not only in Imo State but in Nigeria, as the demolished complex was supposed to be built for a business intended to create jobs for youth in the state. However, he did call on the government to intervene while demanding some compensation. And as if that isn't bad enough, a tale that is very common in various states here in Nigeria. Grief, anger, sorrow were the expressions on the faces of UTC traders in the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. They expressed fear over an attempt to take over their business areas. Now, the traders over the weekend protested against the demolition and remodeling of UTC markets. They claim that they are yet to get an official notice from the Federal Capital Territory Administration on the reason for the demolition of the market. They also claim that the market is in the Abuja master plan. Now, Dr. Abati Adesuwa Rufai, this is a tale that we hear all too often. A few months ago, I was, driving home and I saw a demolition take place. It's in Gudu, and the settlers there with their luggage, luggage is even making it sound fancy, with their load outside. Some were crying. You could see how disheartened these people were. And the general consensus was they were not aware. So I took it a step further. I got in touch with the necessary authorities, only to find out that, in fact, there was an arrangement that was made between several people within that community and the government for that area to be demolished. So the question is, again, it falls back to the end users, the people who at the end of the day live in this area. Do they really know what's going on? Because one would be surprised to learn that some deal has been made or some awareness has been created about this demolished property. And of course, the situation that happened in Imo State, where a complete complex, it was huge, went down to the ground. And one would now ask, what is that space going to be used for?
Well, I guess there are many sides to this, and the issues in Imo State and the one in Abuja may not necessarily be, the details may not necessarily be the same. But looking at it on the surface of it, you are likely to empathize with the affected persons. At a time when there is a lot of unemployment in the country, at a time when the economy is not doing well, to hear that a building that is still under construction is demolished, a building being put up by somebody who is in diaspora and who is creating jobs invariably through investment in real estate in his own country, you are likely to say, oh, government is callous, government is insensitive. Same sentiments may be expressed with regard to the demolition of markets in Abuja. People will be put out of work, and then, of course, the sheer frustration of it, the complication of the economic circumstances at a time of great scarcity in the country. But beyond all of that, you can look at the, the details. Now, in the case of the gentleman in Imo State, he says he has a building approval, because for you to put up a building, you are required under the law to get a building approval. You are required to, comply with physical planning regulations. And if you do not do so, then, the relevant authorities can come and ask you to remove your structure. Again, the building has to be in an approved location and all of that. But this gentleman is saying his building was approved and that, he has not violated any law. He's asking for compensation. If, the state authorities are not talking to him I think the best thing for him is to go to court to assert his rights. He's within his rights to do so once his documents are genuine. That's one. As for Abuja, well, this has been a running battle in the Federal Capital Territory. And you have the Federal Capital Territory Environmental Board. You have the Abuja Municipal Area Council involved in this. You have the Federal Capital Development Authority, a plethora of agencies who are insisting that people just put up illegal structures, who insist also that people are violating the plan. I mean, this is not new. Since the return to democracy, you have had one minister after the other, demolishing structures, either, structures that violate the right of way or that did not, people who did not obtain the right kind of approval. So you have this kind of protest on a regular basis. But the thing, of course, is that before people's means of livelihood are tampered with, then, of course, they should be appropriately notified. And, alternatives should be provided. In Abuja at the moment, the FCTA, or is it the FCD, has launched what they call 2021 Mother of Cleanups. I don't know whether this is within the context of this Mother of Cleanups. A task force led by a guy called, Caro, and they've been going from one location to the other to clean up the Federal Capital Territory. But again, if you are demolishing a market, you should give the people an alternative. In one particular story, there were some marketers who were right inside Abuja at the time. Their market was demolished. They were given an alternative location in Day. Now this year, again, that location in Day has been demolished. Now, what alternative do you provide for these people? Because they are also entitled to support from government, even when they may have violated either the building code or the building plans or physical planning laws, or they may have set up illegal structures.
Okay, we'll be due for a break shortly, but can I just say that whether legal or illegal, you cannot absolve the government and its officials of blames here, because they are monitoring agencies within government to monitor building structures, urban planning across the country. What do? They are paid to do a job, they don't do it. Where were they when structures were being put up? And these markets that have been demolished, are you saying people have not been paying taxes? Are these markets, women and men, not been paying some dues to some certain people? So, you cannot absolve the government here. And for the man whose house was demolished and claims that he has proper documentation, he can seek redress in court. We need to test the laws, because there seems to be a penchant for governance beyond the law, where people are just sadists and happy to destroy. We are just particular about bringing down. We never build. We don't build as much as we destroy, and that's the sad part for me. So government cannot feign ignorance that a structure that has been put to this level, if I'm not wrong, lintel level before roofing, nobody saw that. But, Kachi, we'll go on that break, and perhaps Rufai will have something to say about this story. We'll be right back.
All right. Okay, so I get a chance to make my point, but welcome back. It's the morning show right here on the Rise News channel.
Yes, you do.
I think to a large extent, thank you so much for that, Kachi. I think to a large extent is we have decided just to ruin ourselves as a people, and that's what affects us in everything. So we have decided not to do things properly, and then it comes back to haunt us. And I mean we as a people, as a government, as a nation, we have decided to always take the easy road where we can benefit from in a corrupt way, where we can always have things our way, which is not necessarily the good way, and we don't improve upon ourselves. And look at this issue you've brought forward, Kachi. My dad will always say, something that can't talk should be wiser than you. But obviously, land matters are wiser than Nigerians because we are not doing things the right way. When you look at it, if you apportion a set land for something, then you should have a registry for that land. But the question is, how do you keep that registry in such a way that people can't manipulate that figure? They can't manipulate that documentation. It is because of the manipulation of the documentation. That's why 2-3 people will come and say, we got the land papers, And the government will say, it's your word against mine, you didn't get the land paper. And the next thing will be demolition. So we go ahead with demolish property people have spent the money on. Maybe they'll never get compensation in the end. We keep demolishing our cities and the likes. And people are always falling short in this. The question is, what's the solution? Why can't we use blockchain technology to encompass all the land documentation in this country? So that even if the documentation has been given out and you put it on the blockchain technology, anybody anywhere can see it. If that's the case, what happened in Imo, that the man said he got the right paper and the government official said he didn't get the right paper, will not happen. Maybe he got the right paper, but maybe those he got the right paper for were different from the government officials that came to check. Because in Nigeria, you will have multiplicity of documentation because we don't have one harmonized system. And that's the problem with taxes too. That's why we have multiple taxation. Everybody wants to collect taxes here and there. The local government guys come to you and ask for taxes. Those that are plain uniform come to you and ask for taxes and the likes. And because people are eating from this in Nigerian parlance, and corruption continues. It even goes back to the Abuja master plan. We're supposed to have an Abuja master plan that we spent billions of naira on. Wasn't it clear enough for the areas highlighted for markets and the likes? And when the encroachers were coming on that area, were they not notified by the authorities? We all know the problem of Nigeria, pure and simple, it's corruption. But we can do things better with technology. So I suggest, land is a touchy issue. Since the Land Use Act of the 70s, why can't we put land registry in this country on blockchain technology? It favors everybody. If we do it that way, we harmonize everything on blockchain, people will be able to see land registration, land documentation, and everything on blockchain. I will not have a case where somebody will say, I got a land paper, and the government will say, you didn't get the land paper, and they're going to fight it out in court. Because on blockchain, people will have access to it. That's the way forward. The World Bank, United Nations are now doing a conference on poverty on land use and how blockchain can change all of this. But the question is, are we ever going to do anything? Do we ever learn? I doubt it. Because very soon, before the end of the year, I can assure you, Kachi, you bring another story to us of a demolition because of a discrepancy about a paper on documentation.
Well, just a footnote to what I said earlier. There is a third category of demolitions that we often see in Nigeria, and those are demolitions that are politically motivated. I hope that in these two instances that you have cited, that there is no politics involved. I hope that the man in Imo State, that his building has not been demolished because he's a sympathizer or supporter of a member of an opposing political party. And that in Abuja, there is complete neutrality involved. Because we've had many examples of governors, of some notorious governors, who will say, oh, this man is my adversary, political adversary. And they will just deploy bulldozers to go and demolish the building. Or sometimes it will be done in error. You remember the building, the radio station belonging to Yinka Yefele in Ibadan. That was demolished by now a late governor. But at the end of the day, the same state government rebuilt that same structure for him and allowed him to keep the building at that location. The same building that we had been told by the same development authority in Oyo State was in the wrong location, amounted to a violation of physical planning laws. Because here in Nigeria also, you are dealing with naked use of power, if you like, abuse of power.
Yeah.
Okay, we can take the next story.
Power, and just to add to what Rufai said earlier, it's important to also take into consideration the usefulness of some of these buildings. For instance, UTC is definitely one spot that when you're thinking anything tech, you're thinking printing, you're thinking paperwork, that is where most people will go. You know, the same with that Imo State building was going to provide jobs. The usefulness of this building should also be put into consideration before they're brought down. Now let's move on to another sad tale here in Nigeria, where a woman perceived to be a mother of a student of University of Nigeria, Nsukka, that's UNN, has described the poor living condition in which students in a yet-to-be-identified hostel in the school are subjected to very, very bad. Now, the woman who shared the video of the dilapidated hostel online proposed that the management of the school increase the accommodation fee for proper upgrade of the hostel. However, that has come with some backlash as the students do not think that is the issue. Let's take a look at that video shortly.
It's unfortunate I met this kind of hostel when I came into this compound. The prestigious university of Nigeria that everybody is struggling to come in. Look at this, the hostel where human beings are living. Everybody is struggling to come into UNA because we all believe it's the best school. But how could a school of this nature, a big school, name the name of Nigeria, bring children that are born by human beings and dump them here like goats? Even goats cannot even live in this kind of place. In fact, it is already late. I wish I'd done this in the night so that you see the compound where human beings are staying. The room where my daughter is staying now, this is what I brought out. Everywhere so dirty. I couldn't stand the sight. Let them pay, but let them be given a befitting place to stay. We are ready to pay. Parents are ready to pay. Let them be given a befitting place to stay. The toilet, they've abandoned it. They have abandoned it. Yes, they say they use pee buckets, they use buckets to poo. And when you poo, this is where human beings are staying. This is where human beings, children, small children, 15, 16, 17, 18 years. This is where they're staying, no maintenance. And they have the hearts to tell them to come and live here. And I tried to engage the people, the porters. You mean this is where they're coming in? He said, yes.
This video is a very, very, very pathetic one to look at. But I also believe that there are several issues here, responsibility. First issue, a dilapidated building does not happen in a day, nor does it happen in a week or even in a month. It's a gradual process. And several factors lead to that dilapidation. The maintenance of these hostels. Of course, there are students who have lived there. I, for one, have visited several hostels and universities, and the way some students even live is enough to want to drive out anyone who, wants to even live within that environment. So accountability, responsibility of the people living there as well, because that is a result of a gradual process of just living in a very, very unhygienic manner. And then, of course, accountability, the university itself is a government institution. And if there's one thing we all know is there's a limit to how interested the authorities of these institutions are in the hostels, which is why for a lot of these institutions, they have external hostels outside the school that are not managed by the institution, because the institution is not looking at that. It's expected that the students, as they get in there, will take care of their common area. But clearly, as we've seen, years and years of bad management has led to what we're looking at now. It's pretty bad. But then again, the building in itself looks like it hasn't been tended to in a very, very long time. And the question now is, should they be expecting the institution as well to paint or rebuild, or maybe, temporarily move students out into another location, remodel or something? These are questions. Maybe they might even ask for funds now because, the funds are not available to remodel the hostels, which is, again, why private hostels are now in vogue.
Well, students of University of Nigeria, Nsukka, who seem to have recognized that building in the video that you showed, they've been sending messages to say, they know that hall, that's Nkrumah Hall, Nsukka campus. But whether it is Nsukka campus or Enugu campus, no university should have this kind of building for accommodation. At all. And I hope that the Senate and the council, the governing council of the University of Nigeria, Nsukka, will have the opportunity to see this disgraceful tape and, see the need to do something as quickly as possible, because the motto of that university is to restore the dignity of man. And those who attended University of Nigeria, Nsukka, they like to call themselves lions and and lionesses. Where this building looks like a place where
Rats.
they are not putting human beings, but they are putting animals. And that is what is disgraceful about this. And I hope that the university authorities will see the need to explain why this should be the case. This was a university that was set up to celebrate the independence of Nigeria. It was opened October 7, 1960. Now, this does not show a symbol of independence. However, the state of the university, of this particular hall, whether it's Nkrumah Hall or any other hall, is a metaphor for the state of Nigeria. We don't maintain anything in Nigeria, whether it is roads or it is buildings. We wait for everything to collapse before, we now begin to express concern, and pundits will wade in, and of course, somebody will now issue a press release, action will be taken. We hope that action will be taken. Again, this is not an isolated case.
It is not.
In many other universities, I'm surprised if, other parents were to start taking videos, visiting their children, they will also lament, like that particular parent who went to visit our daughter. Many of our students are living in very terrible quarters. And yet, once upon a time in this country, it was not the case. When I was an undergraduate, we had regular water, we had electricity, the buildings were beautiful. In fact, we lived in lovely rooms. But these days, that is no longer the case. Nigeria went down and everything else went down with it. Part of the challenge is for us to revive Nigeria, to rebuild Nigeria, to restore the dignity of Nigeria. And we hope that the authorities in UNN will know will realize and give effect to the motto of the university, which is to restore the dignity of man. Well, we'll take another short break, Kachi, and then we'll come back to it.
Thank you for staying with us. You're still watching the Morning Show here on Arise News, and What's Trending with Kachi is still on. Kachi, my own take, because Dr. Bati has pretty much summed it up.
Yeah.
We talk about the quality of graduates we get in Nigeria. The one minister in Nigeria even had the audacity to say we don't have employable graduates, but we fail to factor the environmental influence on academic performance. I don't see how anybody can go to Nsukka, stay in that hostel, and perform excellent in academics. It's not possible. So when we talk about quality of graduates, we keep throwing money at problems. Say it's funding of the education system. Yes, funding of the education system. Is anybody considering how the students are living? Do they consider the classrooms they are being taught? And Dr. Bati, you're very correct, because even at the school I went to, the hostels were not perfect. And I'm pretty sure a lot of people have the same story to tell about the condition of living of their schools.
So a lot has to be said. And number one, this is very shameful. We can't talk about the shame enough. One of the biggest universities in this country, strategic one at that, was supposed to be a forerunner to many things, because after University College in Ibadan in 48, I think this was the next big effort. And the founders of this, Nnamdi Azikiwe and co., wanted it to be a statement to the emergence of a new country called Nigeria, that we could do it. And he rallied around for this. I mean, he got some partners in from America. It was modeled after an American university. I can't particularly remember the name now. I think it was University of Pennsylvania or something, one of the schools he went to. And that was the modeling, that was the vision for this university. The university was supposed to be something that would include everybody. That's the school many great people went to. I mean, I can start reeling out the names of the alumnus of that school now. Former Central Bank Governor, President Chukwuma Soludo, I think Tunde Lemo, Tunde Lemo too went to that school. In fact, they were roommates, they were roomies. So Tunde Lemo and President Chukwuma Soludo, when President Chukwuma Soludo was Central Bank Governor, Tunde Lemo was Deputy Central Bank Governor, and they were both roommates, coming out of that school, to show you the prowess and the greatness of that school. But it's been kept in that shambolic condition. It's a reflection of what we are as a nation. But let me go one step further. I am not surprised it is like this. In fact, I'm surprised that the building still stands. Year on year, after the 80s, funding for education dropped in this country. I was talking to somebody over the weekend and he was telling me how all of a sudden the first impact on how the funding for education dropped when he went to the school canteen in the University of Ibadan and they discovered that they will not give them full chicken over their meal any longer. He said he remembered vividly, that was the early 80s. And from then on, things never remained the same. So systematically, we reduce funding from education. Why? Because we feel, oh, if we educate our young people, they'll confront us. And we all know how all of this is an offshoot of the Ali must go crisis. Oh, because we are funding education now, so the military government thinks, oh, these young people could stand up to us. Then they started defunding education gradually up to what it is today. And when that funding came out of it, we started having series of strikes because we can't fund education effectively any longer. It's taking a toll on the lecturers and it's free for all.
Yeah.
Then we have driven ourselves into the problem we have today. But you see, for every problem, there's a solution. Isn't it time for Nigerian universities to start trying endowment fund system? Because that's what is used by Lagos Business School. And that's one of the most successful and well-run universities in this country. And that's why when you see its ranking, it ranks high. I think it's the second or third best business school out of Africa, after Stellenbosch in South Africa. Lagos Business School uses a lot of endowments, and it works. So isn't it time that the universities start to use an endowment system with their rich base of alumnus? And when you look at universities all over the world, they run on endowments. Take, for instance, St. John's College in Oxford has an endowment of over 500 million pounds sterling. Because that's the way forward. Because government has shown that they can't fund the universities even properly. And that's why you're having all the crises we're having today, even with strikes and things like that. Mm-hmm. So the best way to go that can probably salvage this is endowments and putting a lot more fund in this, to be able to help the system and probably get investors in all of this.
Well, if we wait for endowment, we may wait forever. Because
I will not wait forever.
That's why that parent
Well,
is
let's quickly take our next story.
That, school fees, these students pay school fees. But again, the management of resources, because management of resources is part of the problem in our education system. And many vice chancellors, council members and all of that, they've been challenged how they manage resources. And this is one of the reasons why some people are probably saying, let students pay a little more, so that then, of course, there will be greater accountability.
At the end of the day, when the students pay even more, it's still going to go back to the resources box. And then it boils down to what you're saying again, Dr. About management of those resources.
Students of UNN
channeled into.
Students of UNN, I think both current and graduates, have been sending many messages. Somebody says this is not Nkrumah Hall, it is Franco Hall, which comprises Njoku, Alvan, and Mbanefo. Another person says from the video, I suspect it's either Njoku or Alvan Hall. Whatever hall it is.
Don't deny it.
This is unacceptable.
Let's move on. I think you would find this next story just as interesting. Let's speak on reactions continuing to trail the engagement ceremony between Yusuf, that's the son of President Muhammadu Buhari, that's Yusuf Buhari, and the daughter of the Emir of Bichi, Nasir Ado-Bayero. Now, a photo of Yusuf Buhari's fiancée, Princess Zara Ado-Bayero, in an expensive, transparent bridal wear has surfaced online. Now, reacting to the picture, the Kano State Hisbah Board has prohibited the sharing of the bridal shower photographs of Zara Bayero. Now, that is one issue when compared to a similar situation that happened to Rahama Sadao, who was also wearing a dress that was apparently revealing according to their culture and their traditions. Not only was she asked to take the pictures down, she was suspended indefinitely from Kannywood, amongst other sanctions that were placed. So it was quite interesting to find out that all that was done was that the pictures should not be shared on social media, but of course they can continue their enjoyment privately. Another situation that came up was, according to a report, 60 boxes of clothing, shoes and bags, plus 2 boxes of gold and diamonds present at the engagement. Also, a 145-man committee has also been inaugurated for the wedding scheduled for the 20th of August. The Nigerians are just intrigued by the flamboyance of this wedding. One might say it's deserving, they can afford it, but others might say, I mean, let's take a look at some of the institutions, for instance, in the states where these, young lads are from. Of course, they did in school in Nigeria, but I mean, imagine some of those youth resources channeled into that endowment fund that Rufai was just speaking of.
Well, I don't know what the point of this story is. The part of it that relates to, that is of interest to me is the Hisbah police complaining about the dressing of the bride, who, by the way, is a princess. So when you talk about 60 bags, 145-man committee, and all that, this is not an ordinary wedding. The son of the president marrying a princess of Kano. And then there is a cultural dimension to it. In that culture, I understand that, look, there's an exchange of gifts, and, that probably explains those boxes. We're not sure what is inside those boxes. Maybe they're clothes, maybe it's gold, maybe it's diamond. We don't know about that. But I'm not sure this is about public funds. This is a private ceremony. And two young people have the right to marry and start their own life. But the part of it is that of the meddlesomeness of the Hisbah police in Kano, which has become a perennial source of irritation for many people who think that the way the Hisbah police behaves amounts to an infringement on individual freedoms. So if Princess Bayero wants to dress in a particular manner for her event, well, I mean, she has the freedom of choice. But I know, of course, that the Hisbah police is a moral police. And the leader of that group was saying that nobody is above the law, not even the daughter of the of a king in Kano. Well, they may make that point, but what we're more concerned about is how the Hisbah police has constituted itself into, a threat to human freedoms. The other day, it was somebody wearing a pair of trousers. Before then, it was a truck, ferrying cartons of beer.
Then haircut.
And then there was a young man who had a haircut, and he was disciplined, and he was so infuriated. He said, in fact, he would no longer he would like to change his faith. So these are issues that I think, should be issues of concern.
I mean, I think we have deeper issues than the Hisbah police doing what it normally will do. I mean, in a country where we're dealing with poverty, in a country where out-of-school children are doubling by the day, in a country where we have a lot of challenges and some Hisbah police are saying, don't wear this, don't wear that. I mean, are those the priorities, really?
Well, in any case, we wish the couple a very happy married life. We can worry about Hisbah police, but please, let young people marry if they want. And thank you very much, Kachi.